So you mentioned those opportunities, for investors that is fearful. What is that play? Is it cash? Is it gold? Is it growth? Is it value stocks? Is it just holding on to what they already have? What is
Yeah.
the play right now?
Yeah. I mean, so as long-term investors, I'm obviously going to say growth stocks.
Hmm.
I don't believe in chasing the gold trade.
Hmm.
I think that gold historically is a non-alpha producing asset. While it works well during recessionary periods, while it works well during times of economic uncertainty, it does not work well 95% of the time, because 95% of the time we're not in those types of periods. And so I'm not a big believer in gold. I'm not a big believer in oil. I think this massive price spike in oil is entirely unsustainable.
Hmm.
I was doing research last night. US oil consumption and world global oil consumption per capita has dropped precipitously over the past 20, 30, 40 years. In fact, in the US oil consumption per capita is down about 20% from the 1970s. So a lot of people think we're going into this 1970s stagflation type era where rising oil prices just kind of destroy everything. That
Hmm.
won't happen because we don't have the reliance on oil that we did in the 1970s. Our reliance on oil was, in fact, 20% higher per capita than it is today. And it's falling, rapidly
Hmm.
falling. And we have very viable alternates in solar energy, electric vehicles, and things like that. So I'm not a big believer in this big oil price spike. I think it's kind of like oil's last breath. I do think that the terminal value there is indeed zero.
Hmm.
Does that mean it's going to go to zero? No.
Hmm.
But I think that what you're doing here is trying to time that trade, and that's a
Hmm.
very difficult thing to do. At some point, it's going to come crashing back down, and that's going to be a point that there's going to be a lot of sellers, not a lot of buyers. Don't like that type of market. Um, Cash, well, inflation is very hot, very high. So cash are going to be actually eroding your purchasing power and your real wealth. So I would not be doing that. Bonds, you're getting 1.8%, maybe 1.9, maybe 2, depending on where the 10-year lands. In a 7.5%, 8% inflationary environment, you're getting negative real return. Also not great. Value stocks, well, value stocks tend to be closely correlated with cyclicals, and cyclicals are tied to the economy. So if we do enter a recession, if we do enter an economic slowdown here, those cyclicals are going to get crushed. Not to mention, those cyclicals were really pushed up in 2021. So they actually have a lot of room to fall here in 2022 if we do get this recessionary period. So I would say pass on that. So what are we left with? Right? I mean, what are we left with? We're left with these stocks that no matter what
Hmm.
will continue to grow their revenues and earnings because they are tied to secular growth narratives, and that is growth stocks.
Hmm.
I think growth stocks have been wiped out. Growth
Yeah.
stocks valuations are relative to their growth profiles cheaper
Hmm.
than anything in the market right now.
Hmm.
And they are the companies that, regardless if the economy booms in 22, falls in 22, goes flat in 22, has stagflation in 22,
Hmm.
regardless, they're going to continue to grow their revenues and earnings. Lucid's going to continue to deliver cars.
Hmm.
Rivian's going to continue to deliver cars. SoFi is going to continue to grow their banking app.
Hmm.
These companies are going to continue to do what they do, which is grow at lightning speeds, regardless of what the economy is doing, because they don't need a solid economy to continue to grow. They're relying on secular growth trends that do not waver.
Hmm.
So when you look at it from that perspective, I think the best place to be right now is in washed out growth stocks. Does that mean they're going to rebound like a rubber band real quick? No.
Hmm.
But if you hunker down in these names right now and you develop and establish low cost bases in these names, you are going to be so happy you did so in 2025, in 2027, and 2030. Because when was the best time to buy Amazon?
Hmm.
During a recessionary period in 2001, 2002, after it had dropped 90%. When was the best time to buy Netflix? During a recessionary period in 2007, 2008, after the stock had dropped 50, 60, 70%. When was the best time to buy Microsoft? After the flash crash in 1987, during an economic slowdown, during the savings loan crisis in 1989, after the stock had washed out 40, 50%. The best time to buy next generation hyper growth stocks with world changing potential is during periods exactly like the one we're in today. History repeats itself. This time is not different. Hunker down in the companies that by 2025, 2030 will be changing the world, not ones that are going to protect your wealth in 2022, because by 2030, they're going to be nowhere. By 2030, the companies we're talking about will have completely redefined society as we know it. And they're going to look back at this crisis and say, what a little speed bump that was, and nothing more.
So it sounds like
that's
you're real.
that's what we are.
It sounds like you're really excited about what's going on right now.
Oh no, dude! I've never been more excited in my investing career than right now. And that might seem so weird considering the absolute washout that growth stocks, especially hypergrowth, early stage tech stocks have had over the past 12 months. But washouts create fabulous opportunities. This is my shtick. Everybody has their shtick, right?
Yeah.
And some people like to buy things that are going up. Some people like to ride trends, ride waves. I'm the guy that when stuff hits the fan, when things get ugly, that's when you get in there because that's where the opportunities really are. Life is like that. The markets are like that. So I honestly, Aaron, I've never been more excited to be invested in the market, to be invested in growth stocks than right now, because I think the opportunities are absolutely insane. And they're only insane. They're only this good because everybody's so afraid of them, right? If everybody was so bullish on them, you wouldn't have the opportunities. It's one of the analogies I like to use in investing is that if there's a street, and you have people on each side of the street, and you're on one side of the street and you look up and down the street and everybody's on the same side as you, that's not where you want to be in investing. Because if you're on the same side of the street as everybody else out there, and that means everybody else out there knows exactly what you know, is doing exactly what you're doing, and there's going to be no opportunity for any of you because you're going to have to share the opportunity. You're going to have to split the opportunity. Whereas if you're on the other side of the street as a lone wolf and everybody's over here, if they're all wrong and you're right, you have to share it with nobody. You get all the rewards and benefits yourself. That's why I like to be on this side of the street where most people aren't, where most investors aren't, because that's where the real big money is made. And that's exactly what I see in growth stocks right now. So yes, in short, Aaron, I have never, ever been more excited about investing in these next gen growth stocks than right now.